All right, what is going on, YouTube? Card Collector 2 coming at you here with a brand new video, and this is going to be a PSA submission reveal. So, as you can see here, there's a lot of PSA slabs in front of you, but this will actually be two parts, as I like to keep these separate in terms of the subs that, as I do preview videos, I want to try to keep them separate with like the actual sub that it was. So there's two parts to this. First, we've got I believe there's roughly 75, 80 cards in this sub. It's, I believe, all vintage. Not everything's as old as, 1970 tops, but there's going to be some stuff that is going to be pretty old, and there's going to be some stuff that's, newer, like 89. I know there's a decent amount of that kind of stuff in here. Like a lot of 89 Pro set that walked in a deal in the shop. So most of this is going to be just considered, to me, it's vintage. I mean, if it's older than I am, I'm going to count it as vintage. Even though I'm only 27. So this is going to be part one, and then behind me, the great wall of slabs, I believe, is roughly 250 cards. It is the biggest submission I've ever subbed. That's all my cards, I believe. It's one of, if not the top one. I've had a couple over 200, but I believe this might be the biggest. It's a lot of cards. But that's going to be a completely separate video. That will take a while, but in a time of quarantine and not a whole lot to do, I figure some people will find some enjoyment in that, because there's some really cool stuff, some really good stuff. I mean, it's a lot of that sub. I'll take some cards off the top just to show you real quick. It's a lot of modern and a lot of not a lot, but there is some older stuff in there. You got some cool 86 Fleer, and then you got some, nice new Prism stuff. So, again, definitely going to have some variety in that one. Again, that's definitely the biggest sub I will have ever shared on here. So, I encourage you to check it out. But, again, for this one, roughly 75 cards. Overall, pretty happy with this. I understand how hard it is to grade some of these cards and get some of the grades I got. I thought some of them would have, there's a couple I was like, I wish, I think this could have got a grade higher, but for the most part, I feel pretty good with how this sub turned out. So, again, I'll just share these with you guys. As always, if you guys have any feedback, drop comments down below. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. I'm always intrigued. If you know something more about, I don't know a lot about this kind of stuff. This stuff is older. Before my time period, I didn't collect a lot of this stuff. This stuff behind you, a lot of the newer stuff, I feel like I know a decent amount about. This stuff is out of my, isn't really in my area of expertise. So I'm always intrigued to find out more about these cards. So if you got anything you want to share, definitely drop a comment and let me know. So 84 Tops, which I believe is rookie year for Darryl Green, PSA 9. Then you're going to have a run of these. If you guys follow along with my content, when I did a sub preview, I talked about these. I think I purchased about 60 Aikman, 60 Sanders, and maybe 60 Deion Sanders. There's a couple Thurman Thomas. This is like 90 Pro or 89 Pro set. So this is going to have Aikman's rookie, Sanders rookie, Deion Sanders, Barry Sanders, and Aikman. I think there's someone else in it. But I had like 60 of them. I went through and picked out the best ones for sure. You will see, and as this video goes along, I did much better on one of the two players I graded. So I graded Aikman and I graded Barry Sanders, and you'll tell very quickly who I did better on. It's honestly not really close. So there's a 9. There's a 10 for Aikman. I believe those should be in order. There's a 9. Even with some low grades to start here, this will kick in pretty soon, I promise. 6. There's a lot more Aikman graded. 8. And then 8, and then it should have a pretty big run here. 10. 10. 10. And then 10. So I think we ended up with 5 Aikman 10s. I think I might have got 1 Sanders 10. So I guess it's not going to be overall that big of a difference, because Sanders, we ended up getting mostly 9s on. The Aikmans, we got, 6, 8, 9. Sanders was just basically all 9s, I think. I think there might be 110, but I was like, come on, you can't just, I mean, there's, these cards are in pretty good shape. I'm surprised more of these didn't 10. These aren't monster cards as 10s. And these are in pretty good condition. So I was a little disappointed that more of these didn't get 10s. There's 110. And then there's a 9, and then there's 1 8. So overall, many more 10s in terms of Aikman, but you got an OJ rookie. There's a PSA 5. I know there's a couple in that other sub. I don't think they're in this one. I think they're in the other one. Montana 85 tops. These are pretty tough grades because these cards are basically all black border. I mean, the whole card. So it's easy to show white. So when these walked in the same deal as the Aikman and the Sanders, so I graded both of these. I'm surprised one didn't get a 9, but I also, again, understand how tough these are to grade. So there's an 8. And then another 8. And guess what's next? Hey, you're getting good. Another 8. So 5 Montanas. Every single one of them got the exact same grade. All 8s. 74 Franco Harris. Got a 6. Doug Williams. Got an 8. These aren't bad grades. I just don't think they're going to sell nearly as well. I mean, if you don't get super, super high grades on some of these guys, they're not even worth the price of like grading typically. Craig rookie. Obviously, it's a little OC. You can see that pretty clearly that the centering is definitely off left to right. But 54 Bowman, Duke Snider 2. Obviously, I'm not expecting a PSA 9 on this. I mean, it's crease. It's just I move a decent amount of vintage like superstars from the 50s and 60s if they're graded. So just one of those things. I grade them. Even though they're low grades, they sell in shop graded. Customers like to buy graded cards. There's an 85 Ripken as an 8. Yastrzemski as a 67, PSA 4. 68 Mays, got a 3. Not surprised by that. I mean, you can see the corners. They're pretty shot. I must have thought this was going to do better than it was, or maybe a 5 on this is really good, but I can't imagine I would grade this unless this was something I expected to get like a 7 or higher on. I'm not sure. So I'm going to assume I missed something on that. 86 tops, another one of those sets that's a little tough to grade, since you got the green border, just easier to see white. This is, Rice's rookie year. You got a Peyton as a 7. This is pretty cool. You got a Peyton as an 8. Probably not worth a whole lot, but then you got a Dickerson as a 9. That's kind of cool. Again, I honestly, this not being my market, I have no idea what most of this stuff sells for, if any of it. So, again, if you think something in here is really, really cool, just, definitely drop a comment, because it will be news to me, because I definitely don't follow this stuff consistently enough to have an idea of, like, what I should expect on any of this. Franco Harris as an 8 from 80 tops. I still feel like getting 8s on cards that are, 40 years old is pretty solid. I realize they're not amazing grades, but an 8 on a card that's 40 years old, to me, I'm like, sure, I'll take it. Riggins rookie is a 7. Like, that's a grade I'm happy about. I mean, you can see it's clearly off-centered. So 7's got to be a solid grade for that. Montana 87 as an 8. Staubach Fouts 80 tops as a 7. This is a pretty good grade right here. A 9 on that card. Fouts and Staubach. I'm sure it's not amazing money. I mean, Staubach was a rookie in a long time ago. I don't know what year Staubach was a rookie. I'm trying to think. 72? Am I way off on that? I think it's 72, isn't it? 71's Bradshaw, right? 72 Staubach. I guess I can tell you on here. Nope, that just tells you stats. Passing leaders, obviously, it's not going to tell you their career accomplishments. Jim Kelly, I'm not sure how I missed this one. This one's really off-centered. I'm not really sure. I mean, you can clearly see that that's off-centered, so it's tough to say. Bo Jackson, 88 tops is a 9. That's a, I would imagine that's got to be decent. I mean, sure, nothing amazing, but a 9, again, that card's, what, 30? It's 4 years older than me, so 31 years old. Mantle is a 3. This was kind of cool. Again, I don't see a lot of Mantle stuff walk in the store, so when I get it, I typically don't sell it. So this is probably something I end up adding to my collection because it's Mantle. Dick Ellsworth, 62 tops is a 6. I think that's why I graded most of these, is they were old, and I thought they had shots to do at least decent. A 6 isn't bad. I mean, it's not amazing, but I'll take it on that card. 4-5. I think this is a card I looked up, and I think this guy does decent. Again, I apologize. I don't mean to sound as clueless as I do, but I know nothing about Tim McCarver. But I think I remember looking this up, and I thought his stuff did decent graded. I think I was hoping this would get a 4. I mean, with the white on the corners, you know, that's one of the first things you look for, especially in vintage cards, is what do the edges and the corners look like? I mean, you can see that these are beat, so this isn't something you'd send in and expect an 8 on. But speaking of 8s, rookie Henderson, tops rookie is an 8. Again, this was before my time. I mean, Hall of Fame baseball player is an 8 rookie. That's got to be something, right? I mean, more than the cost of grading. Then you got a couple scores. I'm surprised these didn't get 9s. I thought the scores would get 9s. You got an 8 on the Sanders, an 8 on the Aikman, and an 8 on Derek Thomas. And then, I'm sorry, 8 on Barry as well. 2 Barrys both got 8s. The corners on this one are a little bit more shot, so you can see right there. Look at the top corners. Not great. This one's a little better. I kind of thought they would get 9s, so that's one of the reasons I sent them in, but still, they'll still sell as 8s. Another one I don't know too much about, but is from one of the same sets, is Thurman Thomas PSA 10 score, which I think is considered his rookie. Might be off on that, but I'm pretty sure that's considered a rookie. That's got to be a solid grade. Solid. It's a 10. It is a solid grade. I'm sure it's got to be a solid card. I didn't mean like, yeah, man, that's a solid grade. It's a 10. You can't get any more solid than that. So I meant a solid card, like in terms of what it the collectability of it and what it sells for. 72 tops traded. Steve Carlton. Then you got a 6 Joe Morgan. I thought these would both get 7s. So at least one got a 7. Pretty cool here. 70 tops, home run leaders, Aaron, May, and McCovey. PSA 8. Again, this card is 50 years old. An 8's got to be a solid grade for this card. I get it. I'm sure these home run leaders don't do amazing. An 8, I feel good about that. I really do. Here's a Joe Morgan as a 6. Pretty clean card overall, but again, you can see pretty quickly. That's one thing people always ask, what do you look for in cards? There's four qualifiers, right? You got centering, edges, surface, and corners. Look at the centering, right? So what I mean by centering, most people that watch this video have an idea, but you're looking at the space difference between the top and the bottom and the left and the right. So space on the left versus the space on the right, the gray space, is much different, right? You can see there's less here than there is here. In the top, there's less here than there is here. So, right, you can see the card is shifted down to the bottom left. So overall, edges and edges and surface are pretty good. There's not really many marks on this. The corners are pretty sharp. The issue is the centering. So if you can do qualifiers with PSA, which means like they'll say, hey, this edges are good, the corners are good, and the surface is really good. So if it was just for those, you'd probably get an 8 or a 9. It's really good. But the centering is what kills it. So they give you a 5 on centering, they give you a 9, an 8, an 8, whatever on the other subjects, and then the card ends up getting a 6 because, at least I know with Beckett, you can only get a point higher than your lowest grade. Obviously, PSA doesn't have sub-qualifiers, but, card's not going to grade super well if you have one thing on the card that's really, really just different than everything else, and the centering on this happens to be pretty poor, so... just one thing to kind of keep in mind when you're grading. Mazeroski as a 6. I'm not sure when he's a rookie. I just have a feeling it's much earlier than this. Yeah, it is 56, 57. So I think I might have been expecting a 7 or an 8 on that, so not sure what a 6 is going to do. Pinson as a 7 from 70 tops. Well, this is cool. This has got to be pretty good. Denny McLean, 70 tops. Sporting News, the All-Star card, as an 8. I would love to hear from some of my vintage guys. I know there's some people on here that do vintage. I know there's people like Elite Co. and a couple other guys that do a lot of grading. And I know Elite Co. does stuff that was I know he does a lot of like the stuff from the 90s. I watch a lot of his stuff. So I would be curious to hear what some of my grading experts think on some of the grades of some of these older cards that I just don't know as much about. Bench, All-Star, obviously pretty clean, but not one you'd expect to do well. Corners aren't amazing, but you can clearly see that the centering is down bottom right on this, so not surprised there. Here's a 6. Centering's not centering's not as bad, but there's a couple marks on the surface, so no real surprise there. A bench from 71 tops as a PSA 5. Just a really, really hard card to grade, similar to 85 tops for football, like those Montanas I showed earlier. When you've got the cards that are all black, you've got just the borders that show white so much easier, and it just makes the high grades on these, worth so much more. So, Sam McDowell, 70 tops is a 5, pretty clean. I'm not sure if I thought, 5s do well on this or why I would have graded these, because you can clearly see that these are off-centered, so I would have to look into that. 67 tops, strikeout leaders. I'm not sure what I was expecting on this. The grade, you could see it's probably a 5 or a 6. Corners aren't great, but I got a 5. Again, it always goes back to I'll grade superstars because those move well for me. Obviously, when I'm open to the public, not able to do that as much anymore, or at all, but that's neither here nor there. 55 tops, Red Cress as a 6. I'll be honest, this looks like a pretty generous 6. That top right corner is turds, to put it lightly. Yeah, you take what you can get, I guess. That's not one I would have probably expected to get a 6, so I'm probably a little happier than that. Surprised this didn't get like a PSA 8 or 9. This card's, beautiful. Both of these cards are just, elite. I'm obviously kidding here. The Eddie Matthews doesn't even have a top right corner. These came in, but they were from 54 tops. And again, it's worth spending less than $10 to grade 2 cards that, as is, I couldn't sell for, let's say that having the PSA slab. If you're not hurting to have the money, the slabs, people buy stuff that's graded. Even if it's a 1, I will sell these 50 times faster as PSA 1s than I would if they were raw and not in a PSA case. It's just like having the PSA grade is so important to so many people. And they look much nicer put in the case. The overall aesthetics. Obviously the cards are absolutely just destroyed. This one, you can't see it. I don't have a lot of lighting behind me, but there are creases all over these cards. So I send them in, and they'll go in the shop, and they'll get sold as raw cards in the shop at one point. Johnny Bench is a 1. Oh yeah, I was like, the front looks pretty good. I'm like, that's a terrible 1, but it's got it's missing half of the back. Big old chunks out of the back. I'm like, man, that's a clean 1. And then you've got chunks missing. So that makes a whole lot of sense. Then you got a 58 All-Star Hank Aaron as a 2. Not really surprised. I think I might have expected this to get maybe a 3. But the corners on this are pretty rough. So overall, not too surprised. I got 2 left. You got a 79 Dorsett as an 8. What year was he a rookie? 77? Yeah, I think 77. I think this is second or third year. But just overall pretty clean. I thought this might have a shot to get an 8 or a 9. And then last but not least, a 7 Pete Rose, or a 6 miscut Pete Rose from 70 tops. You can see there's no gray on the bottom at all. So I think that's where the miscut's going to come from. So, again, 50 years old. I guess there could be worse grades on some of those. But yeah, overall, like I said, I'm pretty happy with this. Not too many 10s, but I just don't expect those. They just don't give them out like that, like they do modern cards. I mean, again, these cards are 30, 40, 50 years old. So yeah, overall, I'm happy. Again, you win some, you lose some. Could have had some better grades, could have had some worse grades. So I'll take that for sure. But just remember, guys, a couple quick updates. This video will be coming soon, so if you want to see that, stay tuned. Make sure you sub and turn on my post notifications, and so you get alerted. Just click the bell icon down below. You'll get alerted anytime I post, but this video is coming. Again, it's going to be about 250 cards, I believe. So that is coming soon. Also, people continue to ask. I run breaks on here and on Instagram Live throughout the week when I'm at my card store, since I'm not able to be open to the public. All of those spots, as well as supplies, Card Collector 2 merchandise, other things are being sold on my website. It's just cardcollector2.com. And then keep an eye on that, as I'm going to continue. I will post down below now my eBay page. I showed these earlier, so I'm going to put these up here. I will put my eBay pages down below, but just know that my website, cardcollector2.com, has those links on there for that. And in the future, relatively soon, I will start listing cards on my website. So that is the goal, is to make the website a place for single cards, supplies, CC2 merch, group breaks, hobby boxes, etc., right? Kind of your one-stop shop for everything card needs. It will have my YouTube links. It will have my Check Out My Cards account. It will have info about my store, about me, etc., right? It's basically going to be my one-stop shop. So just know I'm continuing to work on that. If you guys, like I said, I posted this on Instagram the other day. Even if you don't even buy anything on the store, I'm certainly not asking you to spend any money. I know times can be tough right now. People aren't working, so I'm certainly not asking for any money. Check out the site. Let me know your thoughts on it. I would just be curious just to hear. So if you check it out and want to drop a comment down below, I will be sure to check it out. Again, not asking you to get on there and spend money if you don't want to join. I won't do that. Just want to get some feedback on what you think on the site, and what your thoughts are. So that is all I got for now, guys. Appreciate you all watching. Have a good one. Peace.